After being canceled because of rain last year, Tyler Junior College's Halloween at Home Plate event returned this afternoon. Families participated in different games and ended the night with a baseball game, perhaps unlike any you have ever seen. East Texas News Weekends' Michael Richardson has the story.
Well, would you look at that? It's Donkey Kong playing baseball. He wasn't the only famous character who was on Mike Carter Field during today's Halloween at Home Plate, as the Apaches baseball team dressed for the occasion, including pitcher Jake White.
This is just an awesome way to get the kids involved, like all of us interacting with kids, because I remember being a kid at that age, just like looking up to these college players, and so like being able to now help these kids out as I'm older and being that college player is so awesome, just to be around everybody.
The baseball match and the dances throughout were the only parts for East Texans to enjoy. Just outside the field were a plethora of games, inflatables, and food.
We added on the trunk or treat portion as sort of a pregame activity to get people out and watch the game, and moved it to the evening.
The costume game has been bringing East Texans together for a decade, but last year's rain caused the event to be canceled. TJC Athletic Director Doug Wren is pleased to have families back at Mike Carter Field.
It's turned into a really fun Halloween event that is unlike any other in East Texas. It's just a very unique, one-of-a-kind experience for this community.
Michael Richardson, East Texas News.
Trick-or-treating is set to begin across East Texas soon. Halloween is, after all, just 4 days away on Thursday.